I'd like to begin today's video with a quote from a 2014 study on fear of birth in women. Birth has been removed from its place in the realm of natural female experiences, effectively denying generations of women the right to observe, participate in, and fully understand the birthing process before they themselves experience it. It's a natural characteristic of the human psyche to fear the unknown. An alarming number of women have a true fear around birth, so I want to dive a little bit more into that today. In our culture today, all of our information on birth comes from the media or from stories that our families tell. And this is a particularly unhealthy way to get information on childbirth. What we're seeing is a trend of women who are extremely fearful to give birth, and more women who would actually elect for cesarean section over vaginal delivery because they are so scared of childbirth. So going back to that quote, because we are no longer delivering our babies at home with a midwife and a group of support women, which is how we used to have babies surrounded by women, we are losing the ability to see birth naturally and normally, and instead it's something that is kind of not really talked about unless it was a particularly bad experience. It's also something that is in the media kind of portrayed as something that is done to you, not something that women do. So because of this, we've really lost the healthy mindset around our natural ability to give birth. And this fear really does impede the birthing experience. It causes women to have much longer labors, to opt for surgical options over unmedicated options. It's just a true fear that really affects all areas of conception, birth, delivery. And so whenever we're talking about fear, it's usually because it's fear of the unknown. We don't know what to expect. We don't know what it's going to be like. We've never seen it before, typically. So we have this really skewed vision of what birth is. Because we're seeing it in the media, it's very medical. There's usually a lot of screaming involved, very theatrical. And then the vicarious experiences from our family of, their experience. And when women have a negative birth experience, that is all they talk about. And I get it because they're probably processing a lot of trauma, but it's very rare to hear a positive birth story from women. And I don't know if that's because we've become very empathetic toward women who have had a negative experience. So, if you have a positive experience, you don't want to rub somebody else's nose in it. So you typically wouldn't talk about it, maybe. I don't really know. But I will say that one of the main things that I think needs to change is our exposure. Okay, so we're being exposed to birth through a media setting and then through family and friends experiences, and that's not an overall view of birth. It's very skewed. So exposure is important, which is why I am constantly sending videos, watching videos, sharing videos, liking videos on social media of women giving birth. Because the more that you see it, the less scary it is. Because the more that you see that women do have positive experiences, the less fearful it is. We also, for some reason, really like to go in very blindly to the birthing experience. We give our doctors our full trust, and we do very little homework. And even if you have the best OBGYN or midwife in the world, this is something that is your body. This is your experience. This is your birth and your baby. We're not coming in and, the joke is your baby's not a pizza, it wasn't delivered, you birthed a baby. So to kind of take yourself out of it is extremely unhealthy. You want to look at this as like, this is my body, this is my experience, and I want to know what's happening to my body with my body. So education to me is extremely important, and getting comfortable with educating ourselves and reading more about it. I hear a lot of women talk about birth and then birthing the baby after, of it being gross and disgusting, and make sure that they're bathed and they're polished up and cleaned. And it's just because we don't see babies whenever they're first born before they're clean. Like we have a very, very skewed idea of what birth is. And so if we can just get more comfortable and like, okay, this is natural and normal. What the baby has on its skin is actually very protective. This is the scientific reasoning behind why that's on the baby. You educate yourself, you start to be like, wow, biology is cool. My body's amazing. My baby's pretty awesome too. And so it makes it more fun and exciting and so much less gross and scary, because it's not that way. There's a heavy viewpoint on birth to be just horrible and painful, and it's just a means to an end of getting a kid. Like, you have to go through it. And I just truly disagree with that. I think that you are doing yourself a huge disservice when you approach your birth that way. I think that this could be one of the most empowering things that has ever happened to you, and to go into it with such a limited and negative view, that's really sad, because this could be really cool. So I think that in order to overcome a lot of the fear, that exposure is extremely necessary, that women who have positive birth experiences talk about it and share about it, that the more that we tell our younger generation that this can be a beautiful experience, this can be the most empowering thing of your life, this can be and should be positive, the more that they will begin to kind of take back birth for what it is for them. And so to me, when we just get more comfortable showing and sharing and talking and educating and then learning ourselves, the more that our younger girls will start to know that this isn't something that happens to me. This isn't a means to an end. This is natural and normal. I think it's going to foster much more empowerment and confidence in the human body, especially the female body. I think with infertility being so high right now, there's just a lot of, it can be really hard to maintain the confidence that the female body is special and is intelligent and knows what to do. I think that we have kind of pulled ourselves out of that. So I think it's really important that whenever we're talking about birth, especially to younger women, that we are telling them that, maybe your experience wasn't good, but maybe you can fill them in and say, I didn't have a good experience, but many women do. Don't make it like your one experience is how everybody's birth is, because it's not true. It's skewed. It's very, very skewed. So just encouraging education and just making the whole experience much more empowering and positive. And then again, decreasing that fear through exposure, because it's the unknown that we're afraid of. We don't know what to experience, so we just go with what everybody else says. We don't do any education. And when we expose ourselves and we educate and we learn, we get to kind of step into that, that role as the birthing mother, instead of as being kind of taken a back seat to your experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave any questions or comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.